Hello and welcome everybody to the Chronicles of the Christian Drama Queen podcast. I am your host and the original Christian drama queen, Lisa Schaefer, and I'm glad that you are here. So what do we talk about during this podcast? Well, everything from the grind of homeschooling my kids for 25 years, topics of infertility and adoption, and of course, finding our value as a Christian daughter, dealing with abandonment and abuse. Listen, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. I'm glad you guys are here, and here we go. And here we go indeed. Thanks for being here today, guys. So I'm so excited. So those of you guys that are watching me on the YouTube channel, you might notice something. So since I was 14 years of age, I was wearing contact lenses. I was a cheerleader in high school, and I did a lot of drama and music theater and stuff like that. So I ditched my glasses. I got them when I was like 14, and I ditched them before I was 16 because I couldn't stand to wear glasses and do all of the busy things that I was doing. And so when I run out of contact lenses, and of course, now I'm self-employed entirely, completely. There for a while, I was able to carry some insurance with an employer. Excuse me, not so much anymore. And so, I didn't have insurance to cover the cost of my contact lenses. But recently, because of the growth in my other side gig, my cleaning service that's been around since 1992, the expansion of that has provided me with enough income to buy my contact lenses. So I'm so excited. It's crazy the kinds of things that entertain me anymore. I've been sitting here talking now for 2 minutes about contact lenses, but I love being able to see you without having the cumbersome glasses on my face. And don't get me wrong, when I buy glasses, they're very entertaining. They are a fashion statement for me. I have blue ones. I have red ones. I have tortoiseshell ones. I've got some with bling and black frames. I mean, so I enjoy them, but I make a fashion statement out of them. But I don't like to wear glasses. I would prefer not to wear glasses. So a couple of things before we get into the topic today. I'm going to be really, really quick. I try to do this in 60 seconds or less. Here we go. 2 Bible studies available now on Amazon. One of them that really deals more with the abandonment issues of being a discarded daughter. The Bible study is called Discarded. It's a daughter's journey to reclaim freedom and forgive the father who left her behind. Has lots of stories in it that came right out of my life dealing with the abandonment issue. And I believe that most women who live without their fathers live with. So you can take a look at that, find that on Amazon, or just go to just shoot me an email, lisa@christiandramaqueen.com. The other Bible study in 20 seconds or less is newly released on Amazon. It is called The Christian Victim's Guide to Forgiving the Unforgivable. And it is also available, similar subjects in the study, but more from the perspective of a victim who's in recovery. So take a look at that. And then, of course, you can go to freedom.christiandramaqueen.com if you want to get on my email list and learn more about those topics. And, of course, just to get to know me and start dialogue with me, I'd appreciate that. That's freedom.christiandramaqueen.com, or shoot me an email, lisa@christiandramaqueen.com. Love to hear from you. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, this month I've been talking a great deal about being disappointed when my plans did not fall through. And many, many times it was plans that I thought were God's plans that did not come to fruition. Dealing with that loss many times can alter your perspective of who you think you are in God's eyes and who God actually is in your eyes. So I'm like most little girls growing up, right? I wanted to get married. I wanted to have children. And I was very disappointed to never give birth. I am now almost 60. I have never had children, at least not that came out of my womb. They're not physically, biologically my children. I have 3 adopted children whom I love, and they all have fantastic stories to tell. And I'll share those with you as they give me permission to do that. But as a young woman, 20 years of age, when I finally decided to start trying to get pregnant, it did not happen. Until you've lived through dozens and dozens of negative pregnancy tests, until you've lived through all of the medications, dealing with, trying to get pregnant, and all the medications that doctors put you on and all that, and all of the different kinds of exams that you go through to determine whether or not you're going to be able to give birth. It's just hard to explain it. It's very difficult to put into words the disappointment and the anguish and the confusion that comes from not being able to get pregnant, from not being able to give birth. And man, I struggled a lot with that. I told a story around Mother's Day, I think this year, about what it was like to be in church and have someone announce that they were pregnant in church on a Sunday night. And what you perceive going on as the woman who can't get pregnant is that all eyes are turning to you to look and see how you're going to respond to that kind of lovely, wonderful news. And I'm not being facetious. It is lovely, wonderful news. But I had to always put on a happy face, and I was. It wasn't like I wasn't happy for the. In fact, some of the moms that were announcing they were pregnant have been going through infertility with us, so I was happy for them. I was overjoyed that friends of mine, sisters of mine, were conceiving and having the ability to give birth. But it was never me. And good Christian friends would always say, when church was over, "You're next. You're going to be next." And it never happened. I was never next. It's interesting to me that I'm sitting here tearing up now. My oldest is 32 years old. My youngest is 26 this month, in a week or two. And I still tear up about not being able to give birth to my kids. I think there's something just natural within the hearts of most women that we assume we're going to be able to have babies. And then when we're not, and there's really no reason why. I'll be honest with you, I went through years of infertility treatments and, diagnostic tests and all of that stuff. Nobody could ever tell me why. There was never anything wrong with my hormones. There was never anything wrong with my uterus. There was never anything wrong with my production of embryos. There was never anything wrong with any of that stuff. There was never anything wrong with my husband. And I just never conceived. Never did. And I have asked God several times. Of course, now I'm almost 60, so I don't want a Sarah experience here. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But I do wonder why. And the only answer I can come up with now, after all of these years, is that the Lord needed me, or desired for me, to be the mother of the children that I adopted. All 3 of my children are what the world would call hard cases. They all have their own stories, and I don't really feel like I'm at liberty to share that, but I do know this. We are not the norm. When I look at families around us, we're not normal. We're not. Number one, we're interracial. My children are all different races than I am, and different than my husband as well. We homeschooled 25 years. So we raised our kids at home, and we chose, it wasn't that they were not socialized. It was that they were socialized by people that we chose for them to socialize with. We did not have to guess at the kind of socialization they were going to experience until they got older and they were able to drive away from the house. And then they got to, that's a whole nother story. That's another book. That book will be coming out in the near future. But the truth of the matter is, I had to get to a place in my infertility where I just had to assume that God intended for me to raise somebody else's children. And that's the reason why I could not have my own. It was the reason why I could not get pregnant. Now, the first thing you have to do when you're getting, I was getting to the age of 40 and I was realizing, man, that's it. I'm probably never going to get pregnant. I got to get to the point where I realize I'm almost 40. I'm never going to get pregnant. You deal with the death of what you thought your life was going to be. And I have done that many, many times. Listen, if you've not had to deal with the death of the vision that you thought life was going to be, I'm not real sure you've lived, because that is a normal course of life. I never thought that we would be a family that's dealing with addiction. I never thought we'd be a family that has had to deal with poverty. I never thought we'd be a family that had to deal with infertility. I never thought we would be a family that dealt with rebellion. I had it in my head when I was younger, and you've probably done this as well. This is what life's going to look like. But I had to allow my vision of what I thought my life would look like. I had to allow it to die. I had to decide God must have something better. But when you're going through the pain, when you're going through the pain of infertility, when you're taking the pregnancy tests and they're always, always, always negative, and when you're going to the doctor and he's saying, so how are you? Are you guys having sex enough? I mean, for God's sake, why do you have to ask me that? Okay. Are you doing this right? Are you doing that right? Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking your pills on time? Are you doing the injections? Are you blah, 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 blah? When you finally get to the place, when you finally get to the place where you admit to yourself, you are not going to bear children. I'm not sure how people deal with that when they want children. I'm not sure how they deal with that without a relationship with God, because God had to show me the areas in Scripture that endorsed the idea of being a woman without children. And here are some examples. Sarah did not have children until she was well into her 80s. Joseph adopted Jesus as his own. Moses was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. And look at Hannah, who desperately wanted to have children, and the other wife, her sister wife in that relationship with her husband, she was giving birth all the time. Peninnah was a fertile myrtle, man, and Hannah was not. And Hannah had to go to God and say, if you'll give me children, I will dedicate them to you. And she did, and that's Samuel. But I'm going through the idea that you will never give birth. You got to have a relationship with the Lord that shows you you have to trust Him. You have to trust Him. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every single time, because guess what? Even once we decided we were going to adopt children, we didn't get those babies all the time either. We had 2 little girls living in our home, 3 and 4, that we were fostering, that we thought we were going to be able to adopt. Something went wrong. The father showed up out of the blue. He had custody of them and took them away from us, and I never saw them again. And then we had another baby in the home. And his mother already had a 1-year-old. And she lived with us even. And we helped her deliver that baby. And I not only lost the 1-year-old who I was helping to raise while she was pregnant, but then I lost the new baby that we thought we were going to have. She kept him. And then there was the little boy that a friend of ours had a friend of a friend. It was a friend of a friend situation, and she was determined to give the baby up for adoption, and we got prepared for that. And the day before she decided to induce labor, She came to me and said, I can't sign those papers. So we lost that baby. So it wasn't just the years of infertility, it was the continued loss of children. And I have to assume that God knows best. He knew that the two boys I have and the daughter I have, and now the granddaughter that I'm raising, He knew I needed to be their mother. I don't understand it, because I'll tell you, I've been a screw up of a mother. I'm not perfect. I'm not even close to perfect. I'm not even close to imperfect, to be quite honest with you. We're way beyond imperfect. And I know that, and I've made a lot of mistakes. You can read about some of that in my discarded Bible study, about how I felt like I needed to enable my kids to do whatever they wanted, or else they wouldn't love me. And that was just faulty thinking on the part of me as an abandoned daughter. There was this long span of time where I spent most of my prayer life crying and asking, why? Why can't I have a baby? All these people were able to have children around me, and I've never given birth. I've never even had a baby in my uterus, ever, that I know of. I'm not sure how I would know that for sure, but never have. And I spent a lot of time asking why, which, by the way, even Jesus asked the Lord the question, why? So I don't think it was a sin to ask. It's just that, God does not have to tell me why. I didn't find out why until my children came along, the ones that came home and that we legally adopted, with all of their baggage and uniqueness, with all of their many gifts and talents and pains. That's when I realized why. Because if I'd given birth to my own, biologically, I probably wouldn't have adopted. Even if I'd just given birth to one, I might not have adopted. I'm not sure we ever stopped dealing with our infertility. Obviously I'm almost 60. I know I don't want to get pregnant now. What a miracle that would be. But it's still painful. I'm not going to lie to you and act like I figured it all out. Sometimes I wonder why this is the plan and not a different plan. Why this plan and not a different plan? I have no regret about the babies I've got, who are now all adults. I have no regrets about being their mother. And it's been a long haul for all of us. It's been a long life. There have been some long, scary, painful roads, because they had issues, I had issues, and we dealt with them together. We've all had issues. But I don't regret those adoptions. I don't regret being their mother. I just trust that God knew what He was doing. But there is a bit of blind faith involved when you're dealing with infertility. You just have to blindly say, okay, Lord, if you say so, this is the deal. And I won't have these babies. I won't give birth. I won't carry children. I'll never know what it's like to give birth. And I had some wonderful friends who allowed me to participate in their births. I think technically I've been in on more births than most people I know have given birth. So even some of my friends who have 5 and 6 kids, I've seen more than 5 or 6 babies be born, because they've always included me as part of that. And it's been amazing, and it's lovely and wonderful. Both of my sisters-in-law have wanted me, one on my husband's side and one on my side, have allowed me to be a part of the birthing process. My cousin gave birth to a lovely boy, and she allowed me to be a part of that birthing experience. My best friends, 2 or 3 of them, have allowed me to be a part of that experience, and it's been amazing. But still, after all these years, I ask why. I don't know why. And someday He'll tell me. The Bible says someday we will know as we are known. So I will know. But does it hurt as much? Only when I talk about it, right? So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate the likes and the shares and the reviews and the rating. You can do that on almost all of the podcasting platforms. I really appreciate it if you put some input out there and share me with someone that you know who could also benefit from a visit from the Christian Drama Queen. So don't forget about going to Amazon and checking out the Bible Studies by Lisa Schaefer, Discarded, A Daughter's Journey to Reclaim Freedom and Forgive the Father Who Left Her Behind. And the newest one is called The Christian Victim's Guide to Forgiving the Unforgivable, Walk Through the Bible, Breaking the Bonds of Bitterness. I'd love for you guys to check those out. And there's a planner. I even have a planner. If you order those books from me, Lisa at ChristianDramaQueen.com, I will spiral bind those books for you. Just shoot me an email, Lisa at ChristianDramaQueen.com. And listen, don't forget to go to my website. You can read more about me. There's more stories there. You can sign up for my email, which I don't send a lot of email, but you get to know about events I'm a part of and speaking and that sort of thing. You go to freedom.christiandramaqueen.com. That's freedom.christiandramaqueen.com. And listen, I love you.